From the Watergate Building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
I'm John Mercurio. It's Tuesday, and you're watching Hotline TV.
And I'm Amy Walter. Welcome to the show.
Well, after running for president for the last year, Bill Richardson made it official yesterday. It's kind of like when you graduate in May and your school sends you the actual diploma 8 months later in the mail.
Oh, kind of, yes. Do you say congratulations or get a card or something?
I don't know. I think
When
what
do
you
you get
do,
the card?
you do a Hotline TV segment about the guy.
Excellent.
What the hell? Cue the pomp and circumstance. We'd like to give Richardson the following degrees.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, we should have graduation hats. You know, we have to work on our props department.
And
That's
I never know
something-
which side the, yeah.
Right,
All right.
the little tassel. All
So
right.
what do we have for
First, for Governor
Governor
Richardson
Richardson
today, presenting El Presidente Award. Sure, I'll give him this. This
Yeah,
is
you
what
will.
he's running as. Look, he surrounded himself yesterday in Los Angeles, his native town, not New Mexico, but his native town of, hometown of Los Angeles, with a lot of
Pasadena.
Hispanic leaders, Pasadena, right outside the suburb, with a lot of Hispanic leaders trying really hard, I think, to promote the idea that, you know, he's the Hispanic candidate. It's going to be a big help to him in
even though
states
his
like...
last name is Richardson.
He already
there we
says
go.
he hates that. He hates the fact that he had his father's name, who was obviously Anglo and not his mother's name,
Right.
who was Hispanic. But look, in states like Florida, which is now going to have a January 29th primary, Nevada, and California, that's going to be a big deal.
Yes, it could be now. He just has to figure out a way that he can convince voters that he is worthy of being in the top tier,
Right.
And so he's not the only one who's trying to pick up these voters. The other question, too, is just what kind of turnout will Latinos be in these primary states? That was the
Right.
contention about putting in Nevada and those states early in the process, these fast-growing Western states, big Latino population, and at the same time, very low turnout.
Very, very low
Very
turnout.
low turnout. In fact, some of the lowest turnout in the country traditionally has come from some of these majority Latino districts in places like Arizona. And
Right.
so his job is not only to appeal to those, but find a way
Right.
to get them
to
motivated
register them and
Yep.
to get them. And that's been a big rap on his campaign so far, is that he's talking to Hispanic groups, but he's not necessarily involving them and
Yep.
registering them and getting them involved. And I'll get a letter, I'm sure, from his campaign saying, yes, we are.
All right.
But that's been a big problem.
Good point.
Would you like to
Oh,
present
the
Chancellor,
Hug It Out
Chancellor Walter?
The Hug It Out Award, which
Damn straight
That's-
he's getting the Hug It Out Award. I personally have been hugged by a sweaty Bill Richardson. All right?
all right,
True or false, Bill? True or false?
yeah. How'd that feel?
It felt
All right?
great. It
Yeah.
felt good. And it really made
Okay.
me feel special. So I think it works for him.
There's that contention that he's a little too touchy-feely, especially around women folk.
Sure.
And that there's a real concern that that's going to come across as potentially not very presidential,
Right.
so to speak.
Especially as you're campaigning in those hot summer days when a big man like Bill Richardson gets a little bit starts to perspire. And that can be a problem. I
All
think.
right.
You really got to think about that.
Yeah, all right.
The Tafria Hostage Award. Look, this is his resume. This is what people talk about, and this is why he remains, I think, a very credible candidate. It's because, look, he's been to North Korea, he's been to Iran, and he's met with Saddam Hussein to free American hostages. Those stories are out there. He's trying to tell them. People aren't particularly interested in hearing, with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama capturing the headlines in the Democratic primary, but it's part of why I think he's relevant to this campaign.
Well, I mean, it has to be frustrating to be Bill Richardson. Look at your resume. Obviously, we know he's poking fun at this in his campaign ads about being the most qualified candidate out there. He's got the resume that everybody would die for to run for national office, and yet not getting the kind of props or kudos that he should be. Although,
Right.
let's face it, the guy is now in the double digits in New
Iowa.
Hampshire and in Iowa. So
Right.
for the first time, he can actually say, maybe it's starting to pay off. Maybe those ads are starting to pay off, or it's just simply that it's nice that you're in the double digits, but let's face it, it's still a three-person contest.
Right. It would be interesting, I think, if the American people, if you went back and looked at history, and if American people voted strictly on the idea of who had the sort of objectively assessed best resume.
No,
You know? I mean,
nobody
obviously
does that.
nobody does that. That's not how
Right.
people are elected. They elect John Kennedy over Richard Nixon because he looked better during a debate and he had shaved by a narrow margin. But you know, it's a real. You would probably see, I think, big changes in history. Let's move on.
The Gun Guy Award.
The Gun Guy Award, sure.
Western State,
He is
NRA.
the NRA's favorite candidate, probably of either party.
And he can Right. It is, you know, you look at just how much trouble Democrats have had in some of the rural areas of this country. A lot of it they blame on the national Democratic message on guns. And so here's a guy who's going to be able to say, here's where I come from. I've been able to do well in rural areas because I can connect culturally with voters. Big.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he's a big gun guy, so we give it to him. And again, you know, you're walking home with quite a few diplomas today, Governor Richardson. I hope you feel proud about that. The Not a Rock Star Award. Sad but true.
It is true. You know, you're not Hillary Clinton. You're not Barack Obama. We already know that. But that is, your claim to fame is, I'm not going to be the most glamorous candidate, but I'm going to be the most hardworking. And do we really need glamour in this day and age? We need somebody who can sit down and get the job done.
I agree. I agree. We'll give him that.
All right, we got to go quickly. Oh yeah, one more. Let's do this one.
The Red State
Award.
Most
important, Kate.
You know, I guess so. Yeah, in certain red states, he sells extremely well. Like you were just saying, you know, the gun issue. Absolutely, it appeals to him in certain areas. Hispanics obviously big in some red states like Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas to some extent. So sure, but look, I mean, I don't think you're talking about some Democratic nominee, if it's Bill Richardson, sweeping the country because of his ability to appeal in red states. Right.
Will Bill Richardson pick up any states that are red that somebody like a John Kerry or an Al Gore didn't, simply because he's from New Mexico? Now, New Mexico maybe, which has got flipped back and forth, but do we really think that Bill Richardson is going to be able to pick up a southern state?
Right.
Or is he going to be able to pick up Arizona? Or do we still think that ultimately, once you have a D after your name, you're now a national candidate?
I think you're talking not so much about red states as much as you are about mountain states. I think he does become more competitive in Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, maybe even, you know, a Wyoming, or he's not going to win Wyoming or Montana, but, you know, states like that that haven't been too receptive to Democrats in the past. But right, in the South, I think that's where the Democrats still have a big problem.
All right. We went really long. Sorry, but there's so many awards, Governor, and you got to come and pick them up. So, or give us an address. We'll send them to you in the mail.
That's all for today.
Oh gosh, I've missed my cue. That's all. That's all for today. Richardson needs to
start paying off his loans, and we're out of time. We'll see you next time on Hotline TV.
Well, I already screwed up my cues. There's going to be a lot of editing in this one, isn't there?